And part two of the corner sections, we're going to check out these parameters, and these are actually extremely awesome. So if you go into the edit section, you'll go into parameters, and now we have a couple nice parameters in here. So one is the corner radius, and the corner radius exists so that you could use your Festool Conturo Edge Bander if you wanted to. Just keep this, I think, above 60 millimeters, and that's going to work for your Festool. Otherwise, it is just a little bit easier to hand band these as well if they're curved. That way you don't have to trim two straight pieces and butt joint them. So that is why the corner radius is there. It would also work with, we have some curved LED panels that it would work with, which are very cool. So that's corner radius. A corner margin is this little notch we were talking about before. And this can be manipulated to be larger or smaller. I would probably keep it at 1/4 inch. Everyone is at least using a 3/8 or 1/2 inch compression to cut out these parts, and that would fit within those boundaries. Okay, so the next two sections, these are very important. So you'll notice these strange inches right here, and then you go into the millimeters. This might look familiar. These are all based off the 32 millimeter depth that we have set up for the library. If you go into notes, let's say you wanted to change this to a 19-inch section. Well, here's the answer to your question right here of, well, what number do I put in? So we can copy this and we can say, well, I want the left section to be a 19-inch section. When we change that, it's going to change our left section. This would only happen if you had a panel right here that needed to be a little deeper. So we'll edit this one and we'll say 20 inches. Okay, so now these panels line up. And keep in mind, if you're ever changing depths with a shared panel system, we would never actually connect a 14 to a 20 like this. We would make some room, put in a 14 panel, and then close the gap. But that is how those parameters work. And the other things that are going on in here is, we're kind of taking away the baseboard notch and we're not using legs. Because of how our islands are set up, we have to have legs turned off for all of our sections. And then the one other thing you might run into is that, you know, this panel would actually be hitting our baseboard, which would be extremely inconvenient for our installers because now they have to cut this panel down. So what you can actually do is, and if you're ever not sure of the increments that we should be using, let's just say we're going to go into the shape tab and shorten up this panel. And the way we have this set up, it's still going to work with our line boring system and our hole distances. So if we go in the shape tab, we click on this line right here, it says right end, and we're going to adjust side. And then the bottom edge, we're just going to bring it up the amount of the toe. So I hit the calculator and I'm going to say 0 minus toe H. Okay, say okay. And now it's brought it up the distance of the toe. And the reason it's so important that we use toe H is because it's directly lined up with our line bore. So if we go to the left, we look at these holes, they are perfectly aligned with the top and the bottom so that we can still attach our bottom to this wall panel and not cause any problems on install. If that's going to be a norm for you, you can always just save to library, and now that change will be automatically applied every time you bring out this section. Now getting into the interior, so let's do a little undo. Say no. And then now we want to build out this interior because we're not always going to just want some shelves here. We're going to want some hanging rods, of course. So let's clear the interior. And this is a 96-inch section, so we would likely have a fixed shelf up top. We're going to take this fixed shelf, drag it up to around, 9.5 inches, whatever that equivalent is. Then we will horizontal split, add ourselves a closet rod. Now, this is really important with the corner sections because you're going to notice that right now this closet rod is lining up with the hanging panel. That's what we want. We want the hanging panel to actually look like this. Okay. And with the pack library, it doesn't really matter if this closet rod is going left to right or right to left because the closet rods are always landing on these line bore holes. But let's say you're doing custom bore and you're not doing all the line bore, then you would actually want this to be accurate. Otherwise, you're not going to get your closet holes, which not the end of the world on an install if someone has to drill their own holes for the closet rods, but we'd like to set them up for success, so we're going to give them the right lines. So let's just pretend that, we actually want this hang panel on the left. So the the right section that we just did, perfect. Everything lines up nice. Let's delete this, then bring in our left section. And something a little funky is going to happen in here because when we go in here and if you examine the shape tab, if you want to geek out in the shape tab with me, if you examine the shape tab when you look at this curved front edge, you're going to see that it says front face. So you would think that when we go in the interior tab and we add ourselves a closet rod, that closet rod is going to go left to right. But it's actually going front to back here, which is not what we want. Visually, you can get away with this, I'm sure. The customer probably won't ask any questions, but it triggers the OCD and it's just not in the right place, especially if you're doing custom bore. So the only way around this is going to be in part 3, and I will show you a little product that we have here down in the miscellaneous section.